Right, time to go out the closet. Oh, bloody hell. Woo.
Right, number one, managing expectations, or managing your wild campaign expectations. So admittedly, me and Gibbo, we were quite naive before we started our van life journey as such. We used to watch the YouTube videos and we'd, look on Instagram, and it seemed people were just parking up in the most awesome places all the time. And we very quickly realized once we started van life that that's not always the case. It's not strictly true. Yes, we've stayed at some awesome places, next to lakes, on beaches. Where we are now is pretty spectacular by my sort of like standards, but it's not always going to be the way. Sometimes you are going to be in a car park. Sometimes you're going to be in a lay-by next to a road. It is what it is. What I will add to that though is, you know what? It doesn't matter all that much, because once you've closed the doors on your little van or your home as such, and you're having your hot wet, you don't even realise where you are, whether it's be a car park or a beach or whatever. You don't realise, you forget about it, you're in your little home. That being said, it's really nice to open the doors when you're on a beach and you wake up and the sun's coming up and you're walking on the beach in the morning, but a lot of the time it doesn't happen. So manage your expectations. If you can get an awesome Instagrammable place to stay the night, awesome. If you can't, just close the doors, get the kettle on, and everything's way better. That's number one.
Point number two, it's awesome having your home with you. What I mean by that is we've got everything we need in here. So we've got, like, if I make a mess eating, which I pretty much do all the time, I've got spare clothes with me. If I'm tired, I can get my head down. We've got our cooker with us. We've got books which I pretend to read with us. It's really, really great having your home with you wherever you go, whether you go to the beach, the mountains, you go different countries, you've always got your home with you, which is, I can't stress it enough, is awesome. Word of warning on that though, if your van needs to go into the workshop for whatever reason, then you've shit it, because your home is in a garage, which we experienced last December in Portugal. Or if it fails the MOT really badly and they're like, mate, you can't drive this, you need to find an Airbnb. And in all honesty, in today's world, that ain't the biggest hardship, but just be aware that it's awesome having your van or your home with you at all times, but sometimes it can be a right lick out and you're like, shit, the van's got to go in. So just bear that in mind. But generally, we love it. Don't we each? Yes. Oh. Point number three. Van life admin takes a lot longer than what you think it does. For example, just the day-to-day maintenance of the van. You've got to keep on top of it, otherwise it's going to break and then you're going to end up, well, in a garage, and you go back to point number two when you haven't got your home with you anymore. So just little things like keeping the solar panels clean. And the older you get, the harder it is to, climb up. Finding fresh water in some countries can be a ball ache. Emptying your black water and your grey waste can be really difficult. Your food shopping, because you're always in a different location, well, you're always having to go to different shops, and you get there, sometimes we've been to Lidl and there's no car park. Well, obviously there's a car park, it's toppers, and we're like, well, we can't fit the van in anywhere. What else takes ages? Laundrettes. You can be looking for a laundrette for ages, you get there and they're all toppers and you're like, oh, man, we got to wait now, or do you go find a new laundrette? Just everything, and I mean everything in van life takes longer. Now, I'm not dripping about it, but I'm just saying, something to be aware. Your day-to-day existence in van life, with all the chores you've got to do, it does take a bit longer than what you'd think. So that's something to be aware of before you start. Give yourself more time than what you think to do your chores. Now, excuse me. Big jump up, stay tight. Right, next point. Wild camping / van life in the UK is a lot harder than what it really should be. What I mean by that is, so we've been to France, Spain and Portugal, and it's not really easy, but it's easier, should I say, to do your admin of van life. So to get fresh water, to ditch your grey and black waste, all you do is they've got these things called airs. You go there, it's normally free, get rid of your naughty stuff, get your fresh drinkable water on board, and off you go, happy days. It's not too much of a ball ache. Sometimes you might have to pay for the fresh water, so it's like €1 for 50 litres or something, but generally it's all free, and it's really, it's easy to use. I compare that to the UK. So when I say UK, I'm predominantly talking about England here, because we haven't really wild camped in Scotland or Wales. But it's really hard to do basic sort of like admin in England. So take, for example, when we've been running low on fresh water, or our toilet's getting a bit full and we're like, we need to get rid of this, there's no airs to do it. So what we'd end up doing, or what our idea was, we used to call up campsites and we're like, dude, can we just come to your campsite? We don't want to, stay on the plot, but what we'd like to do is top up our fresh water and get rid of our waste, and we'll pay you for the privilege as well. So we're not expecting it for free, we will pay you. And the amount of times I've had people blatantly just be rude to me on the phone, or say no and put the phone down. And I even had one guy, he literally didn't say a word, he just put the phone down. So we took that as a no. It's just a lot more difficult to get things done in the UK, and with that then, it's more time consuming, because you've got to keep calling campsites up, or you're trying to find someone to help you out, even though you're willing to pay. People don't really want to help you out. The other side of it is actually wild camping in Spain, Portugal and France. So over here, it's still not legal. I don't think you can do it. You can get moved on police. Touch wood, we never have, obviously. But because, this is purely my theory, because it's not as densely populated and there's a lot more open space, and it's a lot easier to just park up somewhere. As long as you're not littering, leaving the place in a shit state, or making a lot of noise, people generally tend to just leave you on your own. In the UK, because we're all on top of each other, it's toppers, it's a lot harder to find a nice wild camping space. And yes, we've never been moved on, but we always kind of feel like we're just waiting for it to happen, that someone's going to be like, you can't be here, you got to go. Because people think it's quite unsightly living in this big white van, or maybe they're kind of thinking we're freeloading it. I don't know, but we're not. That's our opinion. We just feel like in the UK, it's a lot harder to, one, get your admin done, and two, to wild camp. So that's point 4. We'll go inside with point 5. Come on, boys, move back that way. Come on, Cookie. Oh, good boy. Oh, my head. Right, next point is it gets easier. When we first moved out of our house, and we had like a 3-story house with way too much space for the two of us, and we moved into a van, we had a really big adjustment period. Mainly because it felt like when we first moved to the van, we were living in a wardrobe type thing. It felt that sort of like small, should I say. And that's normal. You've got to remember, if you're moving out of a house or a flat, you've lived your whole life so far probably in a house, and you've got a certain way of doing everything. And when you move into a van, you've got to adapt completely. It's a massive change. When we first moved into the van, we had this massive transition period, and we were kind of like starting to doubt ourselves, and we were like, oh, maybe van life isn't for us, or is this showing flaws in our relationship? It wasn't that. All it was doing was we were having to adjust to living in a van. What that means is you have to figure out new routines. 2 people and 2 dogs in this tiny space is difficult. We just had to learn new routines for the 4 of us. You have to respect each other's space, not to get on top of each other, because if you don't respect the other person, very quickly you're going to get on their tits, and it's going to get really annoying. So that's what you have to do. It gets easier. As time goes on, you'll learn your little routines, and before you know it, you'll be absolutely loving van life. It is literally that. Just give it time. Right, time to go out the closet. Oh, bloody hell. Whew, good. This feels massive. Gibbo, I said app, not axe. Thank you. Right, this leads me on nicely to wild camping ain't that scary. Which means you probably don't need one of these actually, but what you definitely need, and what we highly recommend, is an app called Park for Night. Now, the Park for Night app is really, really good. Basically, it's places people have physically stayed before. They'll tell you where it is, how to get there, and what the sort of like atmospherics of the place was. Other people then stay at that place and then they write a review and say, yes, it was either really good or no, it was shockingly bad, do not go there. And sometimes it's worth just reading the reviews for some of these places, because particularly the French, they really like leave scathing reviews. Yeah, I've lost my train of thought. But what's really good is, so if you're in the whatever area you're in, it'll search for, given a sort of like a radius, or if you know you're going somewhere, you just type it in and it'll give you all the available sort of like wild camping spots in that place. You can choose between car parks, paid sort of like campsites, or if you like being out in nature, which is the ones we tend to go for, you can search for the out in nature apps. We really recommend the Park for Night app for anybody. Now I'm going to be honest, the first time we went wild camping, even I was a little bit nervous. I'm an ex-Royal Marine, so I'm like, yeah, and I was trying to play it cool in front of the missus, who was proper sweating buckets at this stage. It's nerve-wracking because, I know, Cook, it's nerve-wracking because you know it's not allowed, it's illegal, so you like, shit, someone might literally, the police might move us on any second, and that kind of can disrupt your sleep. Or because we've all watched way too many horror films, you just kind of like, you think someone's out there to kill you, and that you're going to be the next victim. And it obviously doesn't happen like that. That's not to say bad stuff doesn't happen to good people sometimes, but so far, we've been really lucky. So that's what I'm trying to say. Wild camping ain't that scary. The axe, by all means, go for it. But the only thing I've chopped up is wood. I'll leave you with that. Oh, you got Cookie all jealous now, haven't you? You good boy, you can sit down. Hello, good. Do you want to come out? Come on. You can't sit on Dad's lap though. You can sit over there. That's it, son.